My wife toasted at my birthday party. To my real true love, my husband's best friend. I smiled calmly. Then I played the security footage of them together for all 30 guests and changed the locks. Their love frantically had nowhere to go. I'm still trying to process the sheer audacity of it all, but mostly I'm running on adrenaline and this weird, cold sort of satisfaction. I'm 42, male, and what happened at my birthday party last week has completely blown up my life, but maybe in the best way possible. It was my 42nd birthday party at my house. The one I bought and paid off long before Sarah, I'm changing her name. My 39-year-old wife even entered the picture. We had about 30 people over, friends, a bit of family, colleagues, the usual suburban shindig. Sarah was being the perfect hostess, laughing, refilling drinks, making sure everyone was having a good time. Marcus, my 42-year-old best friend since college, was there, of course. He even gave a little speech earlier in the evening, all buddy-buddy, talking about our unbreakable bond and how grateful he was for our friendship. The irony is so thick now I could choke on it. Around 10 p.m., Sarah tapped her glass with a fork. Everyone quieted down, expecting maybe a sweet birthday toast for me. She had this glowing, almost giddy look on her face that I'd never seen before. It was unsettling, but I figured she was just excited about surprising me with something special. "I'd like to make a toast," she announced, beaming at the crowd, "to someone incredibly special in my life, someone who has shown me what true passion, true connection really means." I'm standing there smiling, thinking, okay, a bit much for a birthday toast, but it's my day and it's sweet of her to be so emotional about our relationship. Then she continued, her eyes finding Marcus across the room with this look of pure adoration. "So here's a toast to my real true love, my husband's best friend, Marcus." The record didn't scratch because we were playing a Spotify playlist, but it was the emotional equivalent. Pin drop silence. My smile froze on my face like I'd been flash frozen. Marcus looked like a deer caught in headlights, this sickly grin plastered on his face as he tried to figure out whether to laugh it off or run. I could feel 30 pairs of eyes bouncing between the three of us, waiting to see what would happen next. I let the silence hang for a beat, then I chuckled, making sure my voice stayed light and conversational. "Well, Sarah," I said, looking directly at her, "that's unexpected." Her giddy look faltered for just a second, replaced by a flicker of defiance. "It's the truth, David. She used my real name, but I'm changing it here too." "The truth, huh?" I reached over and picked up the TV remote from the coffee table. "Funny you should mention truth. I was actually going to share a little birthday surprise of my own tonight, a short film, if you will." A few confused murmurs rippled through the crowd. People were clearly trying to figure out if this was some kind of elaborate joke or performance art. Here's the thing, I'd been having suspicions lately. Nothing concrete, just a vibe, call it gut instinct. Sarah had been working late more often, her phone was suddenly password protected, and she'd started doing her hair and makeup differently. Plus, Marcus had been weirdly available for emergency handyman help at our house when I was at work. So a week ago, I installed a couple of those discreet little security cameras. One covered the main living area, another the master bedroom. I told Sarah they were for general security, which wasn't technically a lie. Yesterday afternoon, I decided to check the footage, just to put my paranoid thoughts to rest. Instead, I got confirmation of my worst fears. Sarah and Marcus in my bedroom, in my bed, very enthusiastically not discussing surprise party plans. I'd already queued up the relevant footage on our smart TV before the party started, just in case. Call it intuition, but something about Sarah's behavior tonight had been screaming that she was about to do something dramatic. With Sarah and Marcus standing there looking dumbstruck and 30 pairs of eyes flicking between us, I pressed play. No sound, just crystal clear HD footage from our bedroom from that very afternoon. Sarah and Marcus, very enthusiastically engaged in activities that definitely weren't party planning. It ran for a good solid 2 minutes of irrefutable, graphic betrayal. Gasps echoed through the room. Someone whispered, "Oh my God." Someone else just got up and walked straight out the front door. Sarah went white as a sheet. Marcus looked like he was about to throw up all over my hardwood floors. When the footage ended, I calmly switched the TV off and turned back to my audience. "So, about that true love," I said, my voice still remarkably calm. "Since you both feel so passionately about each other, I think it's best you pursue that relationship elsewhere, immediately." Sarah started stammering, "David, it's not. Not what it looks like." I raised an eyebrow. "It looked pretty clear to me and to everyone else here, I imagine." I gestured toward the door. "Get your purses and get out, both of you." Marcus tried the buddy angle. "Mate, come on, we can talk about this like adults." "No, Marcus, we can't. You lost the privilege of talking about this with me when you decided my bedroom was a good place for your affair. Both of you out, now." My voice wasn't loud, but it was hard as steel. A few of my actual friends, bless them, started subtly shepherding other guests toward the door, sensing the total implosion happening. Sarah's sister Emma shot me a look that could curdle milk before rushing to Sarah's side, muttering something about me being cruel and humiliating. It took maybe 10 minutes of horrified, hushed departures. Sarah grabbed her handbag while Emma continued her commentary about my excessive reaction. Marcus just grabbed his jacket, his face still a mask of shock and guilt, and practically ran out the door after them. The moment the door closed on the last guest and those two traitors, I double-locked it and put the chain on. The adrenaline was absolutely pumping through my system. I called a 24-hour locksmith immediately. Cost me extra for the emergency call-out, but by 1 a.m., every single lock on my house was brand new. Her keys, his memory of where I kept the spare key, completely useless. The hurt is there, yeah, deep down. 15 years of friendship with Marcus, 7 years of marriage with Sarah, gone in one spectacular explosion. But mostly I feel this cold, clear resolve. She wanted to make a public declaration of her true feelings? Fine, I made one too, complete with evidence. Now they can figure out where their true love is going to live, because it sure as hell isn't going to be in my house. Update 1 week later. Well, it's been a week since what I'm now calling the birthday bombshell in my head. The quiet in this house is deafening sometimes, but also clean, peaceful even. The fallout started almost immediately as expected. Non-stop calls and texts for the first 48 hours from Sarah, from Marcus, even from Emma, who apparently appointed herself chief defender of the eternally wronged. Sarah's texts were a wild, emotional roller coaster. "David, you can't just throw me out like this. I have rights as your wife. That footage was a complete invasion of privacy. I could sue you. This is my home too. You're being absolutely monstrous. Marcus and I made a mistake, but your reaction was completely over the top and cruel. I need my clothes, my makeup, my laptop. You have to let me in." Marcus's messages were mostly pathetic attempts at damage control. "David, man, I messed up badly. I'm so sorry. Please, can we just talk face to face? I know what I did was wrong. Don't throw away 15 years of friendship over this. Sarah really needs her stuff, dude. Be reasonable here." Emma chimed in with righteous fury. "Sarah is staying with me and she's utterly humiliated and devastated. How could you do that to her in front of everyone? She has nothing now. You're a cruel, vindictive bastard, and honestly, you probably brought this on yourself with your emotional coldness." My response to all of them, after the initial barrage, was exactly the same. "All future communication regarding Sarah's belongings or any other matters will go through my lawyer, Ms. Rodriguez. Her contact details will be provided once you furnish me with your legal representative's information. Please refrain from contacting me directly." Then, block, block, block. Ms. Rodriguez, by the way, is an absolute shark. She was recommended by a colleague who went through a nasty divorce a few years back. She had a good laugh when I told her the story, then got very serious about protecting my interests. She confirmed that my actions regarding the locks were completely legal since the house is solely mine. It's a premarital asset that I owned outright before Sarah and I even met. She advised me to document everything meticulously, which I was already doing. We've initiated divorce proceedings. Adultery is pretty clear-cut grounds here, especially with video evidence. The entitlement from both of them is absolutely staggering. They genuinely seem to believe that I'm the one who overreacted. Sarah actually left a voicemail before I blocked her latest number, saying that I forced her into Marcus's arms with my emotional neglect and distance. Right. The neglect that included working 50-hour weeks to pay for the house she was cheating in, throwing parties she could use to announce her affairs, and apparently being too emotionally cold, because I didn't sense that she wanted to screw my best friend. Emma and Sarah have apparently been busy little bees. A few of our mutual acquaintances started reaching out, very tentatively. "Hey, heard things got messy at your party, David. You holding up okay?" One or two were more pointed. "Wow, dude, Sarah said you totally lost it and kicked her out for basically no reason. She said you humiliated her before she even said anything about Marcus." They're conveniently leaving out the public toast to her true love and the video evidence that followed. I just calmly told the few who asked that Sarah announced her affair with Marcus at my birthday party. I provided proof of said affair, and I asked them to leave my property. Most people backpedaled pretty fast once they heard the full story. It's just too scandalous, and my calm demeanor doesn't exactly scream unhinged revenge monster. Through the grapevine, I heard that Sarah is indeed couch surfing at Emma's small one-bedroom apartment. It's apparently already getting tense because Sarah expects Emma to cater to her every need while taking zero responsibility for her situation. Marcus. Last I heard, he was crashing on his brother Greg's sofa. Greg actually called me, tried the mates before dates angle, said Marcus was devastated and remorseful, and that I should give him a chance to explain himself without Sarah clouding the issue. I told Greg that Marcus made his choice when he decided to sleep with my wife in my bed, and I explained exactly what had happened at the party. Greg went quiet for a long moment, then mumbled something about Marcus not telling him the whole story. You think? Ms. Rodriguez is preparing a formal letter to Sarah, and Emma, since Sarah hasn't provided her own lawyer yet, about arranging a supervised time for her to retrieve her personal belongings. Supervised by a neutral third party and absolutely no entry for her beyond the front hallway. This whole thing is a complete dumpster fire, but it's their dumpster fire. I just lit the match they handed me. It still hurts, not gonna lie. Marcus was like a brother to me for 15 years, but that relationship is dead and buried now. Now it's just legal procedure and moving forward. Update 2 final update 3 months later. It's been 3 months since the birthday bombshell. The divorce was finalized last week, and I have to say it was surprisingly fast. Mostly because Sarah and Marcus's true love strategy imploded spectacularly under the weight of actual reality. The whole saga of retrieving Sarah's belongings turned into its own drama. She refused the initial offer of having a neutral third party supervise, her pride apparently too wounded. She insisted that I had to be present so she could tell me exactly what she thought of me and get closure. Ms. Rodriguez naturally shut that down immediately. Eventually, Emma had to come collect Sarah's things by herself, looking like she'd been sucking on lemons the entire time. Sarah, true to her entitled form, refused to come along, citing outrage at her treatment and refusal to dignify the process. Once Sarah finally got a legal aid lawyer, because Marcus wasn't exactly flush with cash to fund her legal battles, the initial financial probing began. Her lawyer, likely just going through the motions, inquired about any potential commingling of funds regarding the house, or whether Sarah might have a claim to any increase in its value during our 7-year marriage. They also floated the idea of spousal support, citing the marriage duration. When Ms. Rodriguez firmly presented the premarital ownership documents, evidence of the very public adultery, and documentation showing Sarah had made no financial contributions to the property, the tone shifted quickly. Then came the more desperate claims. Through her lawyer, Sarah alleged that she'd invested her time and emotional labor in making the house a home, which isn't a legal financial claim, and claimed severe emotional distress from the public shaming, angling for some kind of settlement payout. Then came the piece de resistance, an anonymous call to my workplace HR alleging that I was unstable and prone to aggressive outbursts, citing the birthday party incident as an example of me publicly attacking my wife. Thankfully, my boss Richard knows me well. HR called me in for a chat, and I calmly explained the situation: adultery, public announcement by her, video proof, my legal ownership of the house. Richard had actually heard whispers about what happened, it's a small professional world, and told HR that the complaint sounded like obvious retaliation. They reviewed what evidence there was, basically Sarah's word against documented facts, and the complaint went nowhere. Ms. Rodriguez, however, documented this as attempted malicious interference with my employment. The pressure cooker of reality did its job on Sarah and Marcus's grand romance. Emma finally kicked Sarah out after about a month. The entitled houseguest act wore thin quickly, especially when Sarah made no effort to find a job or her own place, expecting Emma to bankroll her indefinite unemployment. Last I heard, Sarah had to move in with her elderly aunt about 2 hours away. The aunt was apparently less than thrilled about the arrangement. Sarah's lawyer's desperate financial claims were dismissed entirely. The final divorce settlement was minimal. She got her personal belongings, and a very small sum reflecting her share of actual tangible marital assets accumulated during the marriage, which wasn't much since our finances were largely separate, and the house was entirely my premarital property. No spousal support was awarded, primarily due to her blatant adultery and the clear premarital status of my main asset. Marcus? Oh, Marcus. His life went sideways fast. Greg, after hearing the full story and presumably seeing the social media fallout, because you know people talked after that party, told Marcus to get his act together and find his own place. Professionally, things got awkward for him too. We share some industry connections, and the story of his spectacular betrayal, complete with video evidence shown at his best friend's birthday party, didn't exactly paint him as trustworthy or reliable. No official repercussions that I know of, but he's definitely getting the cold shoulder in several professional circles. He tried reaching out to me again about a month ago with another rambling apology text, saying Sarah wasn't who he thought she was and that he missed our friendship and wanted to make things right. I blocked him immediately. The sheer nerve. The best revenge wasn't just the public exposure, as satisfying as that initial shockwave was. It was watching them face the direct, unvarnished consequences of their choices without me there to cushion the blow. They toasted to their true love, expecting me to just, what? Fade quietly into the background, keep funding their lives separately while they carried on. The entitlement was, and still is, absolutely off the charts. Instead, their love had nowhere to go because it was built on betraying me, in my house, with my resources supporting them. Once they were cut off from all that, with no money and only each other's delightful personalities to rely on, it crumbled faster than a house of cards. Emma still glares at me if she sees me at the local supermarket. Sarah's aunt sent me a single misspelled email calling me heartless and unforgiving. Whatever. I'm doing okay. Honestly, better than okay. The first few weeks were rough, dealing with the shock, the lawyers, the constant drama. But there's a massive sense of peace now that the dust has settled. The house is truly mine again. I've changed the decor, reclaimed every space, made it exactly what I want it to be. My real friends have been absolutely amazing throughout this whole ordeal. The HR complaint was a desperate, pathetic low blow, but it failed spectacularly and just made them look worse. Sarah and Marcus wanted to be the stars of their own dramatic love story. They got their drama, all right, they just didn't account for the ending where the supposed villain, me in their twisted narrative, simply changes the locks, calls his lawyer, and lets them crash and burn on their own. That security footage wasn't just about exposing them to everyone at the party. It was about protecting myself from the inevitable gaslighting and lies that were sure to follow. And boy, did they follow. No real apologies from either of them, of course. Just bafflement that I didn't roll over and continue enabling their betrayal. Their true love couldn't survive the harsh light of day without my house, my money, and my support propping it up. That's the most satisfying consequence of all.